Okay, I'm ready to cut this part of the side rail of the gantry out. Going to be cutting some of this out right here. So I'll show you what I have here. What I have is, this is where my motor is going to mount. And I'm going to be drilling these all out. This is going to be cut out with a hole saw. Then I'm going to move it down 0.6 of an inch. And then I'll cut it out, and then I'll take an end mill and slot all these holes. That will allow adjustment for my reduction gear system here. So that way I can tension that belt up. This is where a bearing is going to mount, so I need to drill out that hole for a little larger than an 8mm shaft. And then these will be 1/4 inch, so I can mount the bearing there. Then up here, so these holes, I'm not going to use these holes anymore. This was going to be with the idler bearings that I had bought, but they're just too small. I'm going to skateboard bearings, so I'm going to be mounting them further out, and that's going to be a 5/16 hole, and that will hold them on, and then I don't have to do any additional brackets to hold them. That'll be strong enough. And then when we come up here, here's all the holes I'm going to need up here for the linear bearings. So once I get up to here, I'll drill all the holes, but I'm going to have a problem with these holes in the corner because they're right on the bend of this channel, and it makes my bits want to wander. So I'm going to have to drill these 4, flip it over, then indicate where I'm at, and then come over and drill the last 4 holes on the edge. And I'll be using this, how it is now. I'll show you that I cannot use this right now, but from the top I'll be able to use it. And if it doesn't work right, I'll just go through with the end mill, just take my time, and it'll work fine. Those are all the holes I need to cut here. And so I have it set up right here, but if you look to try to get all the way to the edge here, I can't hold on to it in my chuck and get down there and drill those. So I already did one of these and just testing everything out, and it didn't really work good in those corners. It just made the bit wander, and so I had big holes because it did not want to work right. So I'll just do the 4 in the middle and then turn it over and do the 4 outers. That should work pretty good. I'm going to be using an 1.5-inch hole saw to cut where the motor is going to the part of the motor that sticks out a little bit. So it needs to be slotted there. Yeah, so we got to get these all drilled, and we can get this put together. I'm not a machinist, so don't listen to anything I say as far as how to do things with this stuff, because I don't know myself. I just kind of make things work. Not the best way, and I am not very proficient at this at all. I wish I had a DRO to do this, because when you're measuring all these numbers out here, it's hard to remember everything. So I'm always going back to where I know I'm zeroed at, and then come forward again and do all my adjustments, so that way I can make sure I'm in the right place. With the DRO, that's a little bit easier to do, but I don't have one. So I'm already centered here, so I'm centered right in the middle and then on this edge, so then I can just move up to wherever I need to be. Lots of lubrication. If you don't lubricate your bits enough, you will burn them out. I burned way too many, and you just need to keep a lot of oil on there. It gets messy, and you got to clean it up afterward, but that's what I have to do to make things work. I do have this nozzle here, but I don't have it hooked up right now. Maybe I should get it hooked up while I'm drilling all this. But I am ready to start drilling these out and get this side finished, so that way I can move on to the next step. So let's go into warp speed. hole cleaned up. Okay, so I have my Dremel hooked up, ready to go. I'm going to try to clamp this down a little bit. We'll try to clamp it so you guys can maybe see some of what's going on here. So I'm just going to come through here, make sure everything's good, widen everything up just a hair. Oh, that freezes my hands. Okay, before we do some test fitting here, what I have, let's see, can we see here? All right, so what I have here is the bearings I'm going to use, little pillow block bearings, 2-bolt flange. They're really close to a 1/4 inch. So I got a 1/4 inch 20 tap here, and we're going to tap them out. That way we don't have to have no nuts on these. This makes it a lot easier just to go ahead and tap these out. And I think it's just like a cast aluminum. It's really soft. Not perfect, but it'll work. And when we're on our final assembly of this machine, we will Loctite everything up. That way things don't back out on us at all. We'll use some lock washers. I got some serrated lock washers coming for a lot of this stuff. And I got some flanged bolts coming to mount the motors. But with a little bit of Loctite and those serrated lock nuts, I don't think none of this will come apart. I think everything will hold pretty good. Same thing with the motors. Perfect size for a 1/4 inch tap. So just go ahead and tap everything out. I really dislike using nuts on things, and like as far as this one goes, you'd have to bring a cap screw from the back, because I don't think you're going to make a nut work in here unless you made a special nut. I like, when I build things, as much as I can, sometimes time doesn't permit it, but it's always good to, I like to tap everything. That way you don't have to have another wrench here to hold the nut on. And also, it makes it a lot easier just using power tools, taking stuff on and off, not having to even have a hand wrench with you to open end wrench or box end wrench to grab the other side. And you can see here, these are really easy to tap. And I think there's enough meat in here that everything's gonna hold on fine. If it does, well, hopefully I don't break any of these. If it doesn't hold up, hopefully I don't break any of these. And hopefully I could save the motor without having to buy a new motor. But I think it'll hold up. And if worst came to worst, you'd make a bracket that would come way back here and you'd use some long bolts. That would not be ideal though. That would be worst case scenario, but that would beat buying another motor though. Just about done tapping this last hole here. Okay, we're all tapped now. 1/4 20 bolts. I'm gonna fit in here now. Okay, let's go ahead and turn this again so you guys can see what's going on here. There's the motor. Take the motor, get her kind of lined up a little bit here, and start bolting it up. There we go. It's not perfectly straight, but it'll work just fine that way. When it gets to the bottom, it gets shoved over this direction, but it'll work. So now we'll see if these holes are right. I have these holes pretty tight, so I might have to, they're exactly 1/4 inch, and so there's really no play on them. And it looks like that's not a good thing. It looks like I'm gonna barely miss it. Well, you know what? I think it will work right there, just barely. I am done with this. I already got the other side made out. So, or sorry, I'm not done with this. I still got to drill all the holes for the linear bearings. So we will go ahead and get started on those. Okay, so I have my little center drill here. I got that one down. I'm going to move over and center drill this one. Then I'll change my bit out. And I will drill this one, come back and drill this one, come back and drill this one, and then I'll put my center bit back on, and I'll put my next 3 divots in, put my drill bit on, drill those, and then come and drill these. I don't think I really need the center punch or the center drill for these two. If I do, I can do it, but I don't think I'll need it. And I'll drill those in, and I should be good to go. Let's go to warp speed again and drill these holes. Okay, I don't know if you guys seen that drill break when I was cutting those holes, but that drill bit just shattered. Never had a drill bit shatter that way. But piece hit me in the knuckle and it sliced it open pretty good, and it just keeps on bleeding. Messy, messy, messy. Doesn't even hurt, it's just bleeding like crazy. So here's the linear bearings. And we will see how well things line up. Got everything deburred here. I might have to come back and make these holes a little bit bigger. I think everything will fit. It's just I'm going to need enough slop in them to be able to make everything square. And there might be enough slop. We'll see. The other side has a little bit more slop to it. Man, look at that. It just doesn't stop. I'm bleeding on this table and everything. It's horrible. Yeah, perfect. I need that. I was over here working and just got blood everywhere. What happened?
I was riding a bike, and right as I hit the glass, like if you see the gravel, it slipped.
Oh, owie. Is your knee okay?
I don't know. I think I'll probably look at him inside.
You got tights on? Okay. Hopefully that keeps the blood in. So I'm hoping now I have better spaced holes than I did on the last run. I had to get some tape to tape that Band-Aid on. They are bottoming out before they tighten up, which is fine. I have some washers coming, and I'm going to actually use cap screws, so I want a hex head so that way I can get these tight. It's kind of hard to get them tight with the screwdriver. I think they actually barely snug down. So we'll loosen them up a hair here. So you can see there's not much wiggle room in them. There's a little bit. The other one, when I drilled the corners, it pushed them in a little bit, and I came back and made the holes a little bigger, but these were a little bit tighter on the other one. So this one I backed one side out just a hair, and now it looks like I got just the right amount of space in between those. These two, the wipers are both touching. I had to clean that trim that wiper down on the one side so it fit. Not necessarily a good idea to do, but since these are right by each other, There's not much that's going to be getting inside of them, but I'm sure there will be some, but I think I'll be all right. So you mount these up on a rail, and then we tighten everything down. Okay, so I have the linear rail here. I'll take it and try to push these out. And now let me get my square and see how square we are here. Yeah, we look pretty good. I'm not going to complain there. That looks good. There's not a lot of wiggle room. There's a little bit. Not much at all. And then we mount our motor. Mount our bearing here. And I have my skateboard bearings. I only have one left. I had bought them for another project I had. Actually, when I got my Ender 3 printer many years ago to make a spool holder. And I ordered a pack of them. And I ordered 100 of them, I think for like $18 now. I'm sure they're not high quality bearings, but for this, I think they'll be just fine. What I'm going to do, if I need to, is you can see the size difference. So these bearings are just so little. I didn't think they were going to hold up. Maybe they would, I don't know. But I didn't like them riding on a 5mm bolt. And so this is way better riding on a 5/16 bolt. But I'm going to be putting two of these together, as you've seen earlier. And if I need to, I will print out a sleeve that slides on that has the ribs. I don't think I need the ribs, but if I do, we can put them on. A lot of time those ribs, they help out, but if you're relying on those ribs to keep your belt in place, you're going to tear your belt up and you're going to end up wearing your flanges off anyway. So it's good just to make sure your belt is straight, everything's where it needs to be. That'll be better in the long run anyways. So now we're done with this. Now we just got to drill some holes on the frame so we can mount our linear rails on.